The most important media outlet in the country right now.
Welcome to the watering hole. I am flying solo today. No Steve, no Whitey. But I'm joined by a very, very special guest. One we've had in the works for a little while. We've finally got it over the line. The South Australian Premier, Mr. Peter Malinauskas. Welcome, Premier, to the watering hole.
Thanks very much, Chris. It's great to be with you.
Right. Thank you for making time for us. We know you're a very busy man, and
right.
We had planned to catch up at LIV, but there were a few things going on.
There was a bit happening that weekend.
There was a bit on that week. But we're here now, so we'll chat a little bit of LIV Golf. Firstly, let's go briefly the backstory. How did you end up here as the Premier?
I still pinch myself, to be honest, Chris. You don't sort of plan to be in a job like this, but I'm very grateful for it. So, I mean, how far back do you want to go? Look, it sounds crazy, but I would not be doing this job today if I didn't work at Woolies Bincham.
Yep.
That's the truth of it. When I was at school and uni, I was at Woolies to get myself through, and I grew up in a household that was really engaged in current affairs, but wasn't political in any way. But it was drilled into me to sort of care about the world and what was going on around me, and the democratic process. And those two things combined when I was working through uni. I saw a few things happen at work that I didn't think was quite right, and I sort of spoke up for some others, and that got some attention from the trade union at Woolies. And they asked me to work for them. Yeah. And when I graduated from uni, I did economics, then I graduated from commerce. They offered me a job full time, and I thought, oh, well, it's that or go work for a bank or a big four accounting firm. I thought, oh, no, I'm interested in this, I care about it. And I decided to do that. That put me on an entirely different path.
Yep.
And one thing led to the other.
Yep.
And that's a long story short.
Yeah. Yeah, and here we are.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to get to the ins and outs of LIV Golf Adelaide and how it all came about.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I want to just sort of take you back to 2024 LIV Golf Adelaide, the media centre. Now, we formed this podcast on the back of the 2023 event.
Yep. So this is second
year.
Yeah.
It was our first year in the media centre. Now, I've got to thank you. I'm going to play you some audio, but I've got to thank you on behalf of the boys that aren't here today.
Yeah, right.
We asked a question during that press conference with yourself, John Rahm and Greg Norman.
Yeah.
And you gave us possibly one of the greatest sound bites for this podcast that we've run with every episode since.
You got me nervous.
Hey guys, Steve from the Watering Hole podcast. Just want to welcome you to Adelaide, firstly, the Premier. Well done. Bit of a light-hearted one.
It's the most important media outlet in the country right now.
You've got it.
So we have run with that. That's at the intro of every episode now.
Fantastic.
And you get a little tip of the cap every episode.
You retain the status. You retain the status.
Retain the status?
That's it.
No, that's the way. We can't thank you enough for that, and that's been a.
Who did you ask the question to? John Rahm?
To John. Yeah. We talked about the watering hole side.
Imagine how I feel. I'm sitting up on this stage, and that wasn't that long after Rahm had been announced that he was going on the LIV circuit, and I'm sitting next to John Rahm, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm sitting on doing a press conference next to the world's best golfer. It was quite an extraordinary experience, I've got to say.
And
he
has a presence about him, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah, he's a big man.
He is a big unit.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's actually quite warm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I've had a chat to him a few times now, and he's sort of like a gentle giant, but he absolutely has presence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you found that generally about a lot of the LIV staff and the players? Like they're very engaging, they're very happy to give up their time and speak to anyone?
I have, yeah. Even like Brooks Koepka's not sort of, sometimes I think he's sort of unfairly characterised as being a man of few words, but I met him the first year. He came to watch the footy at Adelaide Oval. So we had the last game of Gather Round that year, and he came to the footy on the Sunday night in advance to LIV, and I got to meet him. And I sat down next to him and Dustin Johnson, and they were asking the rules. And Brooks was really inquisitive and interested. And I thought, he's this bloke that sometimes in the media comes off as being, a man of few words, like I said. But it was just an absolute gentleman. But the thing that I love seeing is the way they interact with the crowd. There is a real level of engagement, and you can see them thriving off crowd interaction, which makes the whole experience better for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. So, LIV Adelaide. How did it come about? How did we get it here? What was the process? Was it something that was presented to you, or was it something that you sort of consciously went and chased and pursued?
A bit of both. Well, more the latter. But so obviously LIV was a pretty new concept. I was following what's going on. And all I remember thinking to myself, I've always known that Australian golf has been underdone in terms of high quality players.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? And I'm not a guru golfer, I'm a hacker, but I followed it growing up as a kid, and I see all these stars on TV, and it annoys me they never come to Australia, including Australian stars.
Yeah.
And when they said that LIV was a chance of coming to Australia, I thought, well, hello, let's just think that through. While there was the controversy around LIV at the time, I thought, at the end of the day, they're going to bring the world's best golfers to Australia. I could see that going well. And through Roger Rashid, who's quite good friends with Greg Norman, and Roger's sister Hetaf works for the South Australian Tourism Commission. She contacted me and she said, I think I can tee up a conversation between you and Greg if you're interested in it. I said, done. And we teed up a time. I remember exactly where it was. It was a Saturday night. I was out at dinner. It was like around about 9 o'clock Adelaide time that this call would have been scheduled on Saturday night. And I went outside of the event, and I had this phone call with Greg Norman. And I thought, all I need to do here is get some proper face-to-face time and explain to him why Adelaide. And we had a really good chat on the phone. That teed up the next face-to-face meeting. There was a lot of back and forth between that, I should say, in terms of sharing of paperwork and so forth. And then we had this face-to-face meeting. And that was the moment where I think we went from potentially hosting it to being a really good chance.
Yep. Did we have a lot of competition? I think Queensland was...
Yeah, Queensland was the main one, yeah. And that made sense because of Greg's connection to Queensland. But in that, we had just down in that building down there, so I'm looking at my office window here, is the South Australian Tourism Commission meeting, and we had a Teams meeting. Greg was in the US with some of his officials, and we got to make a presentation, a pitch deck presentation, and we teed it all up. We didn't just do it on Microsoft Teams or whatever. We actually had a proper production facility to make sure it worked because I didn't want to go wrong. Anyway, we're going through this presentation. I'll never forget it. And it was like, here's all the slides. And I could just tell about halfway through this presentation, I thought, you know when you're speaking to someone, you can tell they're taking it in, but they're not
really absorbing it.
Fully engaged, right? And I was thinking about the context of our pitch. It was, here's our great city, here's how many hotel rooms, it was all the usual, all the same things that basically everyone could say.
Yep.
I thought, what's our point of difference here? So I turned to the team and got them to kill the presentation.
Had them scrambling?
Yeah, and then I just looked Greg down the eye. I said, listen, we'll send you through the rest of the pitch deck, but I said, look, the simple choice you've got to make is why South Australia, why Adelaide. I'll give you two reasons. I said, you're a breakthrough tournament and we're a state that wants to break through. We've got a few things going our way and we want to elevate that and get the platform that LIV can give us to tell our economic story. Yep. So you're taking a risk, I want to take a risk, we'll be all in on making it work. I said, look, this is crash or crash through stuff, and what I commit to you is an all or government approach. If there's something going on with public transport, I commit, you pull me, I'll fix it. If there's something going wrong with tourism and marketing of the event, call me, I'll invest energy into try and fix it. And I will give you that direct line of communication, and that will be our point of difference, because if we're going to do this, we're going to do it properly. And as soon as I sort of said that to him, I could tell Greg was like, okay, well, that's important. Because at that point, we were in 2022, and they wanted to do the event in 2023. Yep. So we had very short window here.
I was going to ask you what was the turnaround time.
Not much. Not much at all. I was elected in March. I think we were having those negotiations in the middle of the year.
Yep.
Then we announced in November, and we had an event in April.
Yeah, that's quick.
That's crazy.
That's very quick.
Crazy. And a lot needed to happen. So I think I figured that it had value, and we got it done. And I was super nervous about the whole thing for a range of reasons, which we can talk about if you want. But the rest is history.
Grange. Was it always going to be Grange, or were there? Yeah, it logistically made the most sense.
Yeah, it was Grange, and I'll tell you why. Not because obviously we've got other courses that are good or if not better. The two courses next to each other, because the LIV footprint is big.
Yeah.
And be able to have the concert on site is really important.
Yeah.
So that takes up a whole hole at best.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
And then plus all the other infrastructure. So it made sense for Grange. Greg's first ever professional win was the West Lakes Classic at Grange.
Yeah.
So that was certainly part of the nostalgia element of the pitch to him. So yes, it was always going to be Grange.
Yeah. Now, Greg Norman, you mentioned him there. You've probably developed a pretty close relationship to Greg now. What's that been like working with a titan of Aussie sport?
He's not just a titan of Aussie sport. Greg is a highly astute business person.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a businessman through and through. And, he doesn't mince his words. He lets you know what he wants. And I value that. And I'm pretty honest with him saying, no, we can't do this or we can do that. He is Greg is a person who knows how to get things done.
Yeah.
Like, LIV going from what it was to what it is, that's pretty inconceivable, really, from a standing start. That's entirely because of his leadership. Like, he is a get things done kind of guy, which I've got to say I really enjoy working with.
Yeah.
But we're really lucky because that relationship, in fact, there are other things that I'm talking to him about outside of golf that's been helpful for the state for no particular reason apart from the fact that I think he cares about seeing things happen. So it's been a really good sort of partnership and I appreciate it.
Yeah, he seems like very meticulous and he knows every detail of what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
And I think as someone starting the league, that was really important to LIV.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think he could also talk to players with a high degree of knowledge about an appreciation of what professional golf looks like.
Yeah.
But also with an appreciation of the game's got a lot of potential for growth outside of the US.
Yeah.
And that's what LIV provides a chance for.
Yeah. As far as what it means to South Australia, I mean, I'm sure you could speak about the economic benefit that it's had on the state and tourism, but I feel like it's more than that. Like, it's a little bit more state pride and maybe putting South Australia back on the map a little bit. Yeah. We've just had Gather Round, which has been another huge success.
Yeah.
But do you think that there is that kind of extra something in the step of South Australians after LIV's come to Adelaide?
Yeah, I do. Because Gather Round and LIV are very different.
Yeah.
LIV is not as big in terms of numbers compared to LIV. So Gather Round is bigger than on terms of numbers basis in comparison to LIV. But LIV is in terms of the premium nature of it.
Yep.
It's just insane. And it's hard for people to appreciate that haven't seen it or been to it. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, walking around the course after it's, for the LIV tournament, it feels like an F1 event. And that is their aspiration, by the way. They've said that to me. Their long-term goal is to turn LIV into like the F1 equivalent of golf. So it's just premium. It's got a really international feel to it. And when South Australians see that here, I think they're right to be proud of it.
Yeah.
It gets people talking about us in a way that's good and different, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I think like for us, like, we're golf nerds, obviously.
Yeah.
We love the golf aspect about it, but also the entertainment aspect. But I think it's become more than a golf event. I mean, walking around the grounds on a Friday before Dom Dollar was about to start, I think it shows you that it's cut through a whole new demographic.
Yeah, and that again, that's their objective for growth, and it's working. I mean, it's certainly working in Australia. Clearly, it's got work to do overseas, but there is sort of signs it's heading in the right direction. But just seeing so many young people, male and female, we have noticed in terms of the people buying the tickets, the nature of the demographics has changed over the course of the last 3 years.
Yep.
The first year was just predominantly blokes. Now we're seeing a lot more women, a lot more young people, and a lot more kids.
Yeah.
Because it's actually a pretty affordable day. I mean, if you start buying beers and so forth, it backs up pretty quick.
Yep.
But if you're actually wanting to take a family in, if you pack a backpack full of food and water or whatever, you can take the family in. And the prices are pretty good, and you get to walk around, and you are so close. Yep. Like, you forget. And I remember going to the Australian Open as a kid. I think it must have been 90. 97 or 98. And I was stunned when I got as close, from me to you away from Greg Norman, who I was like, oh my God, like a 7-year-old kid. But you get to do this at LIV, and they're all superstars. That's good value.
The access is incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we had the big announcement on the watering hole this year with the extension. I want to talk a little bit more about that. Obviously, the move to North Adelaide.
Yes.
How difficult of a decision was that to move it from Grange to North Adelaide?
Yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah. Was it something that was not well received by Grange, or?
No, I think they're happy about it on balance. I think it depends who you speak to.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of people in Grange who are really disappointed to lose it. I think there are a lot of people that think, oh, well, we've had a pretty good run, but it is causing disruption for members around those few weeks in the lead up to it. So there'll be some that are happy about it. So, different strokes for different folks. But I think, what I guess our objective is twofold. We're going to end up with a world-class Greg Norman designed golf course in the CBD. No one else in the world can really say that. And that'll be great for 51 weeks of the year. And then 1 week of the year we're going to have LIV. And I think it allows it to grow. And it'll be good. Like, getting into town is tricky from Grange. People saw that, particularly when the crowds were up this year.
Yeah.
And the logistics wasn't quite good, depending on, like, if you wanted to catch an Uber, you were paying through the nose or waiting a while.
Yeah.
Obviously that problem disappears in North Adelaide, which is, but I think what you'll see is a lot of people graduate into town, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's going to do wonders for North Adelaide. We were on the watering hole when the announcement was made, and I think their website must have gone down with the amount of people that were like, how do we get a membership?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I heard stories about that.
Yeah. So, what sort of improvements can we expect from the North Adelaide Golf Club now?
Well, the course has to be completely redesigned.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we will be keeping as many trees as we can. I think that's important. There are some non-negotiables, like it's got to be public.
Yeah.
I don't want to see a fence go around it. There'll be a fence around it during the tournament. I don't want to see a fence around it every other week of the year. We want to keep all those amazing trees that we can. There'll be some that you have to go, but the big Moreton Bay figs and all the beautiful trees, you can picture North Adelaide, you know what it's like. But there is a lot of work that needs to be done to take it up to the level. I mean, North Adelaide's good for me, but not for a golf tournament. So, one day in the future, I'll have a hit around there, and then I'll absolutely curse the fact that we've made it impossible for a hacker to me like me to keep below 100. But it's an exciting proposition, I think.
Yeah, it's huge. I think for. I think like you mentioned at the time, for kids to be able to go out and watch these guys play, and then, to be able to go and play the same holes that they do.
And they'll be able to do it like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
I reckon that's great for the game, great for kids, but also golf tourism, which is got a massive growth trajectory at the moment. People travel to play good courses, and particularly if they're unique. And between this and what's happening in Kangaroo Island, we're pretty excited.
Yeah. I think a lot of people want to know on this podcast, are we still going to have a watering hole?
Oh, my word. My word.
Good.
Don't worry about that. Don't worry. I mean, in fact, one of the challenges at the 12th on the Grange, is it 12th?
12th.
Yeah, at Grange, is it's not very easy to grow it.
Yeah. It's
constrained by some pretty beautiful trees that can't go. They've actually been trimmed to accommodate some of the platforms and elevated platforms. The watering hole will be able to be bigger.
Yeah.
And that's great for everyone. The watering hole is obviously commercially really important because that's where all the most expensive corporate facilities, not all the corporate facilities, but some of the most expensive ones, they generate money for the event. That's important, that's going to have to stay. But it can't be at the expense of people who have got normal on-course tickets to be able to come and enjoy the watering hole. I think that's got better, but it can get way better again. And so you've got to have both, and this will allow it to grow. You'll be able to fit more infrastructure in there. So expect to see it bigger and better.
Yeah. Scott O'Neill's obviously come in as new CEO. We had the contract extension. Were we ever close to losing it?
Look, if I'm honest about it, there was a point of tension around something that really was important to us, and that was exclusivity.
Yep.
What I was more concerned about wasn't losing it, but potentially not being the only Australian event.
Yep.
That was but the way we've structured the extension, the investment we're making in North Adelaide will be the only Australian event.
Yep. Okay.
So I think, and that's important to us because a lot of people travel here for it. We want that to continue.
Yep. Perfect. You mentioned yourself that you're a hacker golfer, so you're right at home here on the Watering Hole podcast.
Oh, that's good, yeah. But hackers are all relative, right?
Hackers are relative.
That's right. Like I speak to hackers who, have got handicaps like 15. It's not a hacker.
That's not a hacker.
Yeah.
I think you've got to be 20 and over to be a hacker.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm
well over that.
I qualify then.
Yeah. So how has your golf gone? I'm not imagining you're getting a lot of 4-hour sessions to go and play, but
I don't get to play. And I love it, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm fortunate enough, some point, whenever these jobs are temporary by nature, no one gets to be in these jobs forever. Once the craziness of all of this is over, and hopefully I'll find some time to play. But I got the bug when I was at uni.
Yep.
And I'd play in the summer months. I'd play probably twice a week, either at North Adelaide or the Pat. Often at Blair. I was heartbroken when that shut down because I liked it up there. They were the three that we sort of played the most, and I got myself to a position where I'd always break 100, occasionally break 90.
Yeah.
Now I'd be wrapped if I broke 100.
Yep.
But
you and me both.
Yeah, but when we were doing it regularly, the improvement came.
Yep.
You could really feel it. I could feel it, and you enjoy your golf more when you're respectable.
Yeah.
Not that most people would see breaking 90 as not respectable, but for me, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'd like to be able to one day get myself in a position to be just a genuine bogey golfer.
Yep.
Consistently. I'd be happy with that at some point in the future. But I feel time doesn't really permit it at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. We
have you got kids?
I've got one on the way.
Oh, right.
I was going to ask you about that. Now, I've got a girl.
Goes your golf.
First one.
Right, okay.
Little girl, so I need some advice on being a girl dad.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That is exciting. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I was convinced that our first was going to be a boy, so you obviously found out.
Yeah.
We didn't find out for any of our four. I was convinced the first was going to be a boy, it was a girl, and then I was convinced that I was going to have all girls, and then I got a boy. So I got girl, boy.
Yeah.
I know it's so cliche, but you just want to be healthy, and then you're happy with Larry. And we're lucky that we got 2 of each, and I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah.
The one thing golf will do though is absolutely murder your capacity to play.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be 9 holes, I think.
Yeah. Look, if I came home and said, turns out I got 5 hours off, I'm going to go have a hit of golf. Yes.
Yeah, wouldn't go down well.
No.
We know you're very busy. We're not going to hold you up for much longer. But we've got the final 4 questions that we ask every guest on the Watering Hole. Before I get to that, my co-host Steve has been blowing me up for ages, knowing that we've got this interview planned. And he said, I asked a tough question at the press conference. Now I'm going to put it on you to ask the Premier a tough question.
Good. Go your hardest.
Steve wants to know, is there a possibility, what's the chances of a Watering Hole spot at the Pro-Am next year?
Or can he play?
He's our best.
All right, done.
Done?
Done.
There you go, Steve. I asked the question.
No. But he's got to play the whole round, not just the Watering Hole. No, done. We'll tee it up.
Yep. I've got the caddy job. So
we consider it done.
Yep.
I'm a man of my word, so tell him that he better play well.
Well, he said to me last night, he said if we get the green light, he's committing to everyday training. So
there you go. No, is Steve going to be down the barrel?
He'll be down the barrel.
Mate, make sure you're good to go. And if you don't par the watering hole, then you're going to have to owe your mates a few apologies, I think.
There you go. That's the scoop.
That's the scoop. Steve, you're on. Yeah. What's his strength?
His strengths are his irons.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think he'll be all right.
He'll be pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, on the watering hole. So is he on in regulation on the watering hole?
Oh, I don't know. He should be.
He should be. Okay.
He should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've played it once.
Yeah.
Yeah. In front of Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
I was going to say we had Rick Shields on the show. I think if there was one man that was just as busy as you that week, that was Rick Shields. But
yeah,
he said that he played it 3 times and every time was a different result. He shanked one into the stands, and so for a guy like that struggling on there too, that's
Well, it's just it's the distance. Like I was a bit unsure about what club to use, and every time I've hit it, I've done it twice.
Yeah,
and both times have been well short. So but presumably if I was playing, I played Grange once. No, I played Grange a couple of times actually, and I'm assuming that the tee box is further back.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm sure Steve would go well. He'll be right.
Well, if he trains every day like he says he's going to, he should be all right.
No, he can lock it in Thursday before.
Perfect. All right, we'll get to this. Is normally his segment, but I'm flying solo. So, final 4 questions. We ask these to every guest.
Yeah.
First one, what's your fantasy foursome? So yourself and 3 other players who you're playing around with?
Excellent question. All current players?
Could be anyone, golfer or non-golfer.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, that's good. You got me here. Okay, golfer. I'm going to have to play with a couple of golfers.
Yes.
Do you know, I love Cam. He's a champ. He's a cracking bloke. But the other person I got to know a little bit, who I'm really quite fond of, and I loved him as a golfer. He won the other day. Is Leash.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm a big fan of Leash.
Yeah.
I think he's, Cam winning the British Open superstar. I think Leash, people don't realise just how good a golfer Mark Leishman is. And I'd love to see him in majors again.
Yeah.
So I put him in. You've really sort of got me here. Okay, well, I want to choose the President of the United States, not the current one.
Okay, I was going to say not the current one.
Not the current one. No, but Obama played a bit of golf.
Yep.
And I'm a big fan of Barack Obama. I think he's just I think he was a really good president.
Yep.
So, not perfect, but none of us are. I would give my left whatever to play around a golf with him. So that's 2. It'd have to be alive, presumably.
We sort of said it could be anyone. Just you're dead or alive. Absolute fantasy foursome.
Shane Warne.
Yeah.
Shane, greatest
Yeah.
cricketer in my lifetime.
Yeah.
That I've been able to bear witness to. So there's 3. So maybe I'd go back to another golfer then. If I could play with any other golfer who there's a few. I like Phil.
Yep.
Multiple.
It'd be a good laugh too.
But and he's got a bit of character.
Yeah.
You've seen some of those videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, Phil would be another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good group.
And it's good to have a left-hander in there.
Yeah. Something different.
Yeah.
Next one.
Well, I think Obama might be left-handed as well. I could be, anyway.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, there we go.
Look at that. Favourite course? That could be one that you have played or that you want to play or that you like the look of.
We've just come off the Masters.
Yep.
That's magnificent.
Yep.
But that's just a bit too obvious. Look, well, I hope I'm going to be saying North Adelaide.
Yep.
When it's done. Let's wait and see. I'm really excited about the cliffs. That'll be interesting when it's done. But I've got mates who've gone to Barnbougle.
Yep.
And they said it's just something else.
Comes up a lot when we ask this question.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you ask me to shut your eyes and you play any Australian course that exists right now that I haven't played, I would say Barnbougle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Good choice. The next one.
I'll tell you one other place. There's a place, and it'll take a. There's a place. So the only time I ever get to play, I might play around Christmas, New Year.
Yep.
And if I go on leave, and we try and take July school holidays off, and our normal place that we go to is Cairns, and there was a course in Cairns called Paradise Palms.
Mm-hmm.
It was magnificent, and
Yep.
just before COVID, they shut it down and turned it into a housing development.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's heartbreaking. And anybody that's been to far north Queensland and taken their sticks with them would often know about Paradise Palms.
Yeah.
And this place was one of the most, I'll show you photos, one of the most beautiful places I've played golf. And it was built in like the 80s and 90s with Japanese money,
Yep.
Japanese investors. And then they just couldn't make it work as golf sort of came off. If it had just lasted another 2 years and got that COVID bounce, it would have been, it breaks my heart. So anyone out there that knows about Paradise Palms, you'll feel my sense of shame that it's shut down.
It's one I didn't know about. And you mentioned it there, COVID was huge for golf.
Massive.
It got a huge bounce after COVID.
Yeah, and it's still, everyone's been waiting for it to sort of go back.
Yeah.
But in terms of golf participation, and junior participation in golf is going through the roof. It's up 30% last year in Australia. So, we're onto something here, and Adelaide's, home to the best tournament in the country, bar none.
Yeah. Oh, look, and we think it's no coincidence that that's come along the same time as LIV.
Yeah, I absolutely. And I think I've got to know James Sutherland a little bit, the CEO of Golf Australia, and he acknowledges the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, big part of the watering hole is the hype song. Every player comes out onto 12 and they've got their walkout music. But I asked the question, we asked it at that press conference that you were at to John Rahm and to Greg, what would be your 12th hole walkout song at the watering hole?
Blue Sky Mine.
Yeah.
You know that start?
Yeah.
I'm a massive Oils fan.
Yep.
Blue Sky Mine.
Yeah, that'll work. Definitely. And finally, so we've got the teams. We've got obviously Rupert GC. We've got Majestics, 4 races. If you were handed captaincy of your own LIV Golf team, what would you call your LIV Golf team?
This is going to sound a bit lame, but the Blacks.
Adelaide Uni?
Adelaide Uni,
yep.
The Adelaide Uni Footy Club's got a massive place in my heart.
Yep.
And I love the simplicity of the Blacks. I love the simplicity of our Guernsey.
Yep.
And I think it's got a ring to it. Everyone knows the Blacks has got at least in amateur league footy circles, it's got a cut-through penetration. Like, people know about the Blacks. It's got a good culture. Anyways, I'd just say we'll be called.
Yeah.
The
kit, the logo writes itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Perfect. All right, well, can't thank you enough for squeezing us in today. And
thanks, mate.
Glad we finally got to catch up. And Steve is on notice.
Steve, he's better hop too. So what does Steve go around in?
He's about a 20.
Okay, so he can play.
Yeah.
He can play.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. We're about to find out.
We're about to find out.
February.
Premier Peter Malinauskas, thank you for joining the watering hole.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.